My cursor is visible to all. Here I am marking my cursor that actions or reactions of animal in response to stimuli. So any kind of stimuli, environmental stimuli, any other predatory stimuli, any kind of stimuli. Stimuli means what? Stimuli means any other reaction part from environmental side or from any other animal side. Okay. So this animal behavior includes all the ways that animal interact with each other and the environment. So this is summarized as the behavior. Okay. And why this behavior is evolving? What is the meaning of this behavior? Why animal is showing this kind of behavior? This is for two important purposes. One is survival, another is reproduction, because these are the internal or inherent desire of the organism. Organism want to survive, organism want to multiply itself. That's why for survival and reproduction purpose, different kind of behavior is shown by the organism. Is it audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If any confusion, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll move one by one slide. Now, the evolution pattern of animal behavior. So, animal behavior mainly controlled by what? It is the genetic factor. The important controlling factor of animal behavior is the gene. Why there is behavior? Why there is evolution of behavior? Evolution of behavior means there is a change in behavior. Evolution means the change according to the time. So there is a change in behavior in every time. Why? Because to increase the fitness. So here another important question for us, what is fitness? If we'll recall the previous part, the fitness means the reproductive success. If organism is surviving, organism is reproducing, then we can call it as organism is fit. So for that fitness purpose, organism or animal behavior time by time that improves. Then how behavior evolve? From very ancient time, there is change in behavior pattern, different types of behavior. This is not the present time change. This is ancient. From the ancient time, there is change in behavior pattern. If we will talk about the human being from its hunting life to present life, there is a great change in behavioral pattern. Not only human being, there is change in behavioral pattern of all the organism. Every organism, they evolve their behavior according to the environmental dynamism. Environmental dynamism means change in the environmental condition. Different type of environmental condition is the important instinctive factor for changing the behavior. So here it is easy to see how many common types of behavior evolve. That's because the obviously increase the fitness of animal performing them. So animal is changing its behavior means that increase its fitness, that protect itself from the predator, that try to develop adaptation in different circumstances, and at last the aim of the behavioral pattern change is to increase the fitness success. Okay, so here the picture is showing that the wolf is more likely to survive and pass its gene to the next generation by behaving this way. This is a very interesting example. If wolf is attacking individual form, then it is difficult for the wolf to attack or to conquer. But if the wolf is attacking or the group of wolves is attacking the organism, then they will definitely get the success. So this is the pattern. And this type of genes, which type of gene? The gene which helps in aggregation of wolf the gene which develop the behavioral pattern that make aggregation of wolf and attacking the organism, predator or prey. That is the fitness gene. That gene is responsible for their fitness. And generation after generation, they shift this gene, they inherit this gene to their young ones. All of you clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is there any voice problem or anything, any doubt from your side?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So this is the history of animal behavior, why we are studying animal behavior, and who are actually the path provider of this animal behavior. So from early observation, Aristotle's observation, what he observed first, systematically he studied the animal behavior and he observed the description of animal instincts and their logic. What he observed first, Aristotle actually did a research on the pet organisms. And he observed that organisms, the pet animals, they have love and affection for their masters, for their families. And this actually provide the idea, this actually give the idea of more research on this animal behavior pattern. So this is the early observation performed by the Aristotle in this is the time period of his birth and death, 384 to 322 BC. And during this time, he made this observation. And after that, the recent form of animal behavior study, which is called as the scientific study of animal behavior, was performed by Charles Robert Darwin, and in his experimental success in his book that Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex, the expression of emotion in man and animals, he actually he observed that there is a behavioral change, behavioral evolution in organismal pattern. He explained about natural selection. And in natural selection, what he emphasized in natural selection, he emphasized on fitness of the organism. What we discussed before some time, in natural selection, particularly Darwin emphasized on fitness, survival of the fittest. After different type of fighting, different type of competition, the fittest one will only survive, not others. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Some other scientists
Yes, sir.
also in modern form, if we are talking about ethology, ethology is the animal behavior. And for that ethology, different scientists, they discovered differently certain pattern and they provided certain conclusion on this animal behavior. Out of them, even Pavlov is one of the scientists who discovered the reaction of food changed over time while was studying digestion. That means he demonstrated actually a classical condition that he trained certain dogs and he provided certain times for their feeding. When the dogs appear those time appear, the dog starts salivation. Salivation means they start secreting their saliva in accordance to the food, in the love of the food. Okay, so what he developed from his theory, he developed or emphasized the importance of conditioning in studies of human behavior. That not only human, every organism, they modify their behavior according to the condition is the actual phenomenon provided by Ivan Pavlov. and his principles have been applied in education and rehabilitation to improve learning outcomes and promote positive behavior. This was the work done by Ivan Pavlov. The next scientist, who is famous, known as Carl von Frisch. Also, he has a great contribution towards animal behavior, and he first observed the dancing pattern of honeybee. There is a picture at the right corner here. There is a picture given how honeybee actually dancing when there is a availability of food. So he first observed this type of dance, this peculiar type of dance. The second part, this part I have marked here. This peculiar type is the waggle pattern of dancing here. He first observed this waggle pattern or waggle dance, which honeybee perform to communicate the location of food source. So this is one pattern. If they get the food source, they try to attract, they try to call other species of their group to come to that place and get the food. So for that, they perform waggle dance. Okay. And this waggle dance, particularly while a food source is present at a greater distance. If food source is present, this type of dance is known as waggle dance. And this waggle dance they perform when there is a greater distance. That means the food source is not nearer to their hive. The food source is present a great distance to their hive. Okay, and another kind of dance is the round dance or circle dance. Circle dance shows what? Circle dance particularly indicate the species that the food source is nearer to the hive. So this is the theory provided by Carl von Frisch. This the important part, waggle dance and round dance. Again, I am repeating, waggle dance is when the food source is not nearby. The food source is at a great distance. But circling dance indicates the food source is nearby to their hive. Then another scientist, according to your course, another important contribution of one scientist is Konrad Lorenz. He emphasized on ethology, the advanced form of ethology, and he particularly explained about instinctive behavior in animals. Instinctive behavior means the imprinting behavior. Imprinting means is an innate process that causes an animal to make a very strong attachment to its biological pattern or another member of its species. That means what organism is learning from the ancestor or from the parent. That is the imprinting pattern of the behavior which was actually emphasized, which was actually described by Lawrence. He was working with different birds at that time and he investigated the principle of imprinting, the process by which different birds they bond instinctively with fast moving object that they see within the first hour of hatching. So this was the experimental setup and conclusion provided by Konrad Lorenz. After that, Tinbergen was famous for the study of instinct actually. It was started by Lorenz, but it was completed. Actually, it was completed by Tinbergen. He was a Dutch biologist and also he was conducting research on birds, was an ornithologist. So he published his book, The Study of Instinct. That book is based on animal behavior. So what he emphasized in his work, Tinbergen emphasized actually the importance of both instinctive and learned behavior to survival. Both behavior are very important. Instinctive means the innate behavior, what behavior we receive from our parent in the genital pattern, in the inheritance pattern, whatever behavior we receive from our parent and whatever behavior we learn from the surrounding. Both are very important for the survival. Not only the innate behavior, also learning behavior. So different kinds of behaviors are there. We'll read about it in later part. So that behavioral pattern was summarized by Tinbergen by doing different experiments, and at last he summarized that importance of both instinctive as well as learned behavior to the survival of the animal. And his study based on the idea innate behavioral reaction in animals. Whatever I have marked in bold and different colors are very important for your study. You have to focus that points, the innate behavioral reaction in animals and the adaptiveness and evolutionary aspect of these behavior. So this was the idea provided by Tinbergen, Nicholas Tinbergen. He explained actually the behavior is an reaction in that to a certain extent it is reliant on external stimuli. That means whatever external stimuli is there, whatever external condition is there, according to that, organism is showing its behavior. Organism is expressing itself by different kind of behavior. Okay, so it is spontaneous during the environmental stimuli or during any external stimuli. This is spontaneous condition shown by this organism that was provided by Tinbergen. So these three scientists, we have to remember the name of these three scientists because they got Nobel Prize for this contribution of research towards animal behavior. Konrad Lorenz, Nico Tinbergen, and Carl von Frisch. Okay, so they got Nobel Prize in 1973 for their discoveries concerning organization and elicitation of individual and social behavioral pattern. So basically their research on different kinds of animal and their behavior. Okay, so these are very important parts and their contribution was tremendous towards animal behavior. That's why they got Nobel Prize in 1973. So these all about different scientists and their contribution towards animal behavior. Then we'll move to the next part, the objective of behavior. Why we are studying animal behavior? What is the basic objective? So animal behavior has made significant contribution and play important role to the basic biological system. We all are, if we are talking about animal, we all are biological organism. We have life, we have certain sensation. That is the only characteristic feature of biological organism. Sensation, living condition, living organism means they have sensation. They respond to external stimuli. So, according to external stimuli, different kinds of behavior are shown by the organism. So, the objective, why we are studying the behavior, why behavior is essential? Behavior is essential for the survival of the organism. Different objectives I have marked and some important objective I have cited here. First is the survival. That means the contribution of behavioral pattern to the survival of animal. How animal survive in the environment, that depends on the behavior of the animal. If the behavior is natural and the behavior is successful to the adaptive mechanism inside the environment, then the organism can survive in the natural environment, or it is very difficult for the organism to survive whether organism is performing not well. That is the first. For survival purpose, animal behavior is very essential. For reproduction purpose also animal behavior is essential, because certain organism, they reproduce, or the we can say it as the organismal instinctive nature, organismal inherent nature is to reproduce, is to produce more and more number of offsprings. So for production of more and more number of offspring, organism try to attract the same species, female or male, for different kind of reproduction and for the process of production of offspring. It is the second objective. The third objective is the communication. Behavior is essential to communicate with other organism, because communication is essential. Communication is essential for which sense? Communication is essential for many aspects. If we will take one example, if one organism is unable to communicate with other organism, then the benefits of other organism is not reachable to the first organism. So communication is very important. If we can't communicate with ourselves, then it is very difficult to improve ourselves. It's the condition in our case, in human being. That's why it is very common in all organisms to communicate with each other. After communication, the process is adaptation. Organismal behavior also essential for environmental adaptation, because different environmental responses, adaptive responses to environmental stimuli is very essential. Learning and cognition also another objective, how animals learn and adapt their behavior. If organism is not learning from the environmental change, environmental stimuli, then it is very difficult to adapt the organism for its survival. So adaptation is also essential. And social structure. Social structure maintenance is very essential for all the organismal group, because without doing social organization, cooperation between organisms, which is very essential for survival, is not possible. So to maintain the hierarchies, to maintain the cooperation, or to maintain the final social structure, organismal behavior is very important. So these are the objectives of animal behavior, organismal behavior. All of you clear about these six objectives, major objectives of animal behavior?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now come to the behavior pattern, the ethology. Ethology is the study of animal behavior. Ethos means habit. Logos means study. Behavior pattern means what is the habit of the organism? What is the expression mode of the organism to the environmental stimuli or to any kind of external stimuli? So the word first used in 17th century, Hillary in 1859 used the term to describe relationship of animals. So ethology was first used by Hillary in 1859. Why he used the word? He used the word for relationship or to describe the relationship of animal with environment, family, and society. So this is the discovery, and in mid 20th century, the more recent time, from this ancient time to the recent time, Tinbergen, who was known as the father of modern ethology. Actually, he described or he emphasized on 4 question pattern. What he emphasized, what are the 4 questions? What Tinbergen explained? The first question here, A, B, C, D, 4 questions are mentioned. Why is the animal performing the behavior? How did the behavior evolve? That is the evolution pattern of behavior. What causes the behavior to be performed? Mechanism of behavior. And at last, how has the behavior developed during the lifetime of individual? So these are 4 important questions explained or asked by Tinbergen, and many scientists they start research on those aspects. Also, Tinbergen explained certain answers. So first thing, if we'll go for the function, that is what is the animal, why is the animal performing behavior? Different type of behavior is performed by organism to or for the survival purpose. If we are talking about parental care, so parental care is there for survival of young ones. If parent is not taking care of young ones, it is very difficult for the young one to survive. Migration of bird is essential. So why there is migration? Why there is migratory behavior? Because it is essential for the birds to survive. It is essential for the birds to survive, particularly in a particular season in which there is no suitable condition. Then evolution of the behavior. The second question, evolution. Why there is evolution of behavior? Because always the environmental condition is not fixed, is not constant. There is change in environmental condition. So if one behavior is continuing generation after generation for a long period of time, but there is no change in behavior, that would be very difficult for the organism to survive, because for changing environment, changing behavior is essential. And for changing behavior, evolution of behavior is very essential, because without evolution of behavior, without change in behavior, organism unable to survive. That is the second thing, second discussion point. Third discussion point is the cause. Why organism or what caused the behavior to be performed? Which stimuli elicit or what physiological mechanism cause the behavior? When we are talking about different type of hormones, when we are getting certain external stimuli, why we are performing certain behavior? What is the cause? When we are getting certain environmental stimuli, we start behaving because there are certain physiological change in our body. Physiological change means internal change in our body. Internal change means there is certain hormonal imbalance. That means certain hormones start secreting at that time, and those hormones are responsible for changing in physiological condition that make the behavior to be performed. That is the third question discussion of Tinbergen. And the fourth one is ontogeny, that means development. How has the behavior developed during the lifetime of individual? That means in what way has it influenced by experience and learning? That means a behavioral pattern is changed during the lifetime due to different learning process. If we do not know how to behave in different situations, in different circumstances of our life, it is very difficult for us to survive. We have to beg food, we have to grab food, we have to collect food for our survival. If we do not know the learning of collection, if we do not know the process of collection, then we cannot survive. Nature will discard us, nature will throw us. That's why development of behavior from the experiments or from the learning, anything we can say. Development of behavior from experience or development of behavior from learning is very essential. So these are the 4 questions and certain examples. Already what I have discussed, these examples show or mark this discussion. Now, these 4 questions, the next part of your syllabus is that these 4 questions actually operates into different levels. If we are talking about first and second question, that is the function and evolution of behavior, it explains what? Ultimate explanation of animal behavior. And if we are talking about the third and fourth question, causation and development of behavior, it explains the proximate cause of behavior. So these are 2 important aspects of animal behavior. One is ultimate explanation of behavior and one is proximate explanation of behavior. So these questions to obtain a full understanding of cost, benefit and constraint that have shaped a given behavior, both ultimate and proximate answer must be obtained. So whatever questions asked by Tinbergen, the answers must be obtained for different beneficial aspects of organism. Why there is behavioral change, what causes the behavior. So all these questions must be answered or answer must be obtained. Okay. So first of all, we'll discuss about the ultimate cause, that why behavior occurs. So these are the ultimate cause of behavior. The evolutionary reason behind the behavior. Already we have discussed the ultimate cause. The first and second question explains what? Ultimate cause of behavior. That address why. Okay. And this why relates to what? Relates to 2 things. One is fitness and another is survival. So this fitness and survival is actually the answer. Why there is behavior, why there is ultimate cause, why there is evolution of behavior for fitness and survival. So what are the key aspects of this ultimate cause? The evolutionary function is the first key aspect of this ultimate cause. What is the evolutionary function? Adaptive value of behavior in increasing individual reproductive success. If one individual is there, we have to increase the individual, the organism has to increase its reproductive success. That means they have to get more chance of survival. They have to get more chance of reproductive success. They have to bring the capacity of more production of organism. Then only it is very possible for the organism to survive in the changing environment. If we are not producing more number of organism, if we are not capable of producing more number of organism, then chances might be there for perishing. So organism, all the organisms, they have inherent desire to produce more number of organism, more number of offspring, whatever condition provided by Darwin in his theory. That organism has enormous fertilization capacity. Is the first aspect, evolutionary function. Second evolutionary function was natural selection. It's very well known to all. Natural selection theory provided by organism. Natural selection theory actually explains what? Here the selective advantage. Natural selection theory provide the selective advantage and more likely to be passed on to future generation. That means the fittest one. If there is a competition for resources, if there is a struggle for existence, only those organisms can survive which are fit or fittest among all. So the fittest one can survive and fittest one can transfer its gene to the next generation. That is the natural selection concept provided by Darwin. And the last one, last key aspect of this ultimate cause is phylogeny. Phylogeny means how behavior evolved. Already we have discussed in previous part how behavior evolved. These all are the ultimate cause why behavior occurs. And the next part we'll discuss the proximate cause of the behavior. Proximate cause explains what? Proximate cause explains the not why, that is how a behavior is triggered and performed. So the key aspects of this proximate cause are genetics and neurobiology. What is the cause of behavior? Why we are performing behavior? Before some time I have explained that we have performed certain behavior means there is a physiological change inside the body. When we got certain fearness from any kind of external environment, we start secreting certain enzymes, certain hormones inside our body. They cause the physiological change. So genes, hormones, different kind of cells are responsible for this pattern, for this cause. Okay. And very importantly, the neurons are responsible for this kind of coordination. We have two kinds of coordination. One is neural coordination, another is hormonal coordination. So both coordinations are responsible for different kind of behavior. And second, how question is explained by the second key aspect, that is development and learning. Before some time, I have explained that if we do not want to learn, we cannot survive. For survival, we have to learn certain tricks. Just like our exam point of view, if we have to get more mark within those stipulated time, we have to practice more. We have to gain certain more proficiency in our writing skill, in our expressing skill. That's why, or that after that, we only can get the success. So development and learning is very essential for the survival. And very important third aspect of this, how is environmental stimuli. If there is no stimulus, if there is no external environmental stimuli, there is no behavioral change or no behavioral evolution. If any kind of external stimuli is there, behavioral evolution is also there. That is essential. All of you clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is the
Yes, sir.
first part we have covered from your syllabus. This is evolutionary approach and different causes along with objectives of behavior. Okay. So now in the next phase, now only we'll discuss about mechanism of behavior. How behavior is performed, how behavior is regulated in our body, and what are the controls for behavior in our body that we have to discuss. For 1 or 2 minutes, I'm just moving for another slide. Just wait. This is the mechanism of behavior. So first of all, we'll discuss about neural control of animal behavior, because we know that behavior. Am I audible? After this
Yes,
sharing,
sir.
am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So behavior is regulated by neurons. Neural coordination is very essential for animal behavior. Neural control and coordination. Not only neural control and coordination, hormonal control and coordination also responsible for this kind of behavior. But hormonal control and coordination are very fastly affected or regulated by neural control and coordination. So we have to first understand the pattern, the mechanism of neural control and coordination, certain general pattern and certain behavioral pattern of neural control and coordination. So this is a basic neural input and output. Neuroethology is the evolutionary and comparative approach to study of animal behavior and its underlying mechanistic control by nervous system. Neuroethology means here we merge these two words, neurobiology as well as animal behavior or ethology. The merged pattern is neuroethology, which express about the evolutionary and comparative approach to study animal behavior. The nervous system is responsible for coordinating and controlling animal behavior, because we have discussed that neural coordination is essential. So the basic inputs of these nervous systems are what? Sensory input and motor input. These two are here. One is sensory input, another is motor input. But we know that all these part, my cursor is moving here. The part of central nervous system is actually the decision making part. When we are sending certain impulses, messages from the point of reception means where we get external stimuli. From the point of reception, if we send certain messages towards central nervous system, so first that message is received by spinal cord, then the message is communicated to head. These two are our central nervous system part, and they start deciding, they converting this incoming message to outgoing message by a pattern of neuron which is known as interneuron or integration pattern. Is the processing and interpretation. Processing and interpretation by interneuron is actually done in central nervous system, and whatever interpretation, after processing whatever interpretation is there, that is communicated or that is transferred to the point of action where we get the stimuli. The central nervous system send message to the point of action to get rid of that stimuli or to take any action against or in favor of that stimuli. Okay, so these are the basic structural analysis of neural control in our body. And this neural control, here one pictorial presentation is there. Pictorial presentation means when we have certain beautiful flowers in our or in front of us, then we want to pluck the flower. So that is the kind of behavior we are showing. Beautiful flower is there means our eye receptor is receiving certain messages, and those messages are transferred to the spinal cord, then to brain for processing and interpretation. Our brain interpretation or process that the flower is very beautiful and we have to keep the flower with us. That's why we have to pluck the flower. For this purpose, the brain send message to our hand. The brain send message to our muscle system to go there. and to pluck the flower. This is the kind of behavior is regulated by our neural system. So this is the basic structure of neuron. Not need to explain. Everybody, all we have idea about this. The neurons have mainly what? Three important parts: dendrites for receiving of impulses, soma or body for communicating the impulses towards axon region, and the axon for transforming the impulses to the next part or to the end of the axon. Synapse is the point between two neurons. The synapse is responsible for transformation of chemical. This is the point. This is the synaptic point. Ending of one axon, axon vesicle, and beginning of next neuron. And the next part is neurotransmitter, different chemicals, acetylcholinesterase, different chemicals, neurotransmitters are there, which actually responsible for communicating between two neurons. One neuron secretes certain neurotransmitter, and those neurotransmitter actually activate other neuron for different purposes. By this, the neural system communicate the messages from one to next part. Okay, and by communication, we get idea, or our nervous system get idea of this, or one neuron is transforming message to the another neuron for any external stimuli, about any external stimuli, which is responsible for different kind of behavior. So this is the pattern. This is the neural circuit. Neural circuit means the generalized neural circuit is presented at this part. If we have certain reception center, the reception center means where we receive certain stimuli. Here, skin is marked, the reception center. The skin receives the stimuli and sends to the central nervous system by afferent nerve, and afferent nerve, after sending this to the central nervous system, decision making is possible due to central nervous system, and after decision making they move the messages, or they transfer the messages by efferent nerve. This diagram is the circuit diagram of transformation of message. When we are talking about simple behavior, very simple circuit is used, that is reflex arc. All we know that reflex arc is a simple circuit which is very essential for immediate behavior. If we have certain responses or stimuli that we have to take action against it immediately, then only we have to use very simple circuit. But for complex process, the right side diagram is there for complex behavior. That means if any external stimuli is there, external stimuli means if carbon monoxide concentration is much more in environment, how our body system is how our body system is understanding the condition, what is going on outside the environment. For that purpose, or if we are consuming more amount of carbon dioxide into our body, then carbon dioxide is actually not sensing by the neurons, but the carbon dioxide stimulated factor, the pH of blood, the pressure of blood is actually responsible for stimulation of nerves, is actually responsible for developing action potential in nerves. That's why we are showing different kind of behavior. We are just leaving the place where we get more amount of carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide for our protective purpose. So this kind of behavior, this is a complex behavior. We are not using the simple circuit here. We are conducting certain voluntary action. If we are not conducting those voluntary action, it is very difficult for us to survive. If any toxic substance is there, if any allergens are there outside, then we have to immediately leave the place. For that, different complex system is there. For external stimulus, there is reception centers like eyes, skin, nose, everything is present. If an internal stimulus, the change in blood pressure, change in pH, then this reception transmit through this sensory or afferent neuron, then integration by central nervous system, then brain take decision, make decision to send the decision to spinal cord, and then transmission from this spinal cord to different body part for different action like running, blinking of eyes, respiration rate increase, blood pressure rises, everything. These kind of actions performed are the complex behavioral pattern. So these are the generalized neural circuits and behavior. How neural circuits are responsible for behavior explained here. This is the pictorial presentation. Just look at this pictorial presentation. In this pictorial presentation, we have marked different centers of brain. How different centers of brain actually responsible for different behavior. Okay, mainly brain centers like thalamus, hypothalamus, amygdala. These are responsible for different. Here I have marked certain behavioral pattern, and those behavioral pattern are actually regulated by certain brain system. The organism, when get any external stimuli, they start processing those stimuli by the central nervous system, and central nervous system centers are actually taking the decision for different functions like seeking, fear, aggression, sex, care, panicness, playing, everything. So these are different kind of behavior I have marked here, learned behavior as well as innate behavior. Different types of behavior. Every kind of behavior are actually maintained by our central nervous system. So nerve system is an important aspect, or nerve system is playing an important role in maintaining behavior. Like that, we can use certain examples. We can cite certain examples like role of hypothalamus. What is the role of hypothalamus in different aspects? If we are fighting, if we are feeling, then hypothalamus is playing an important role. Different hormonal action is triggered by hypothalamus. Other role, other functional role of hypothalamus in different function, that is role of hypothalamus in sleeping and waking, role of hypothalamus in emotion, role of hypothalamus in different aspects we are performing, like reproductive behavior, excitement, rage, anything. Hypothalamus is performing a tremendous role in different kind of behavior. So this is the pictorial presentation. Different brain system, brain parts are responsible for different kind of behavior. This is another pictorial presentation in human brain. The different parts are mentioned in the left side, and the frontal lobe, how parietal lobe, temporal lobe, occipital, cerebellum, these are responsible for different function. If we are discussing about smell, the frontal lobe is actually playing the important role for smell. This is another pictorial presentation, hypothalamic function for different reflexes, sleep, awake rhythm, water and salt balance, maintenance of body temperature, appetite center, the expression of emotional states, sexuality, everything is maintained by this hypothalamus. Up to this, clear to all Any confusion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, no, sir. Please share also at the
Now,
end of the session. Please share us the PPTs.
the sensory processes and perceptions. This is the next part we have to discuss, the sensory processes and perceptions. So, what are the processes? It involves the detection of environmental stimuli, which are then processed into meaningful information, allowing animal to perceive their surrounding. So, processes means what kind of environmental stimuli are there. We have to detect the organism, the animal have to detect those stimuli. Okay. After detection, only the animal can process those meaningful information. Otherwise, if we cannot detect, if we are unable to detect, we cannot process the information. So, for the detection, different modalities are there, different properties of our body is responsible. Like that, like the modalities here mentioned, one is vision. If we are talking about vision, what we are looking and what are the sensory cells present in the eyesight for detection of environmental stimuli. Here, the pictorial presentation is given like cone cells and rod cells. Okay, they are actually responsible for detection in light and dark condition. Like that, another modality is hearing modality. Hearing modality means detection of sound waves through mechanoreceptor. Photoreceptor for detection of light. Detection of sound wave is mechanoreceptor. Certain organism, if we are talking about different fishes, dolphin, if we are talking about bat, they are using echolocation for their navigating purpose. Navigating purpose means moving purpose. Echolocation for navigating purpose and echolocation for hunting purpose. Dolphin and bats. Here the pictorial presentation of echolocation is there. They imagine, they gauge their predator or prey distance by using this mechanoreceptor. By using this sound wave, they can easily detect the distance of the prey or predator. So this is the second modality for sensory process and perception, because without process, perception is not done. And the third process and the third modality is the touch. We have different sense organs. Skin is the very good example of this mechanoreceptor. If we have skin, we can touch something bad or good. Skin receptor can sense the external stimuli, whether the stimuli is good for us or whether the stimuli is dangerous for us. That stimuli can be understood. That stimuli can be received by our skin. So touch is another modality. After touch, the chemoreception, sensing certain chemicals, olfaction, smell, gustation, taste. So we can, if we are tasting something and certain chemicals are added, the taste may be good, may not be good. If we are using certain pesticide or insecticide or any other chemicals to the field products or crops, different insect, they start attracting or repelling due to this kind of taste, this kind of smell. So this type of reception is known as chemoreception, that certain chemical substances are responsible for this kind of behavior or process or detection. Electroreception, certain fishes that electric ray fish, they have electric organs. The ability of some animals like shark to detect electrical field in water. So by using those electrical organ, they can produce the electrical field for preventing the predator activity, as well as electrical field also used in movement, in capturing. So these are different aspects, different functions. And the last one is magnetoreceptor. Another modality means the organism for its procession, for its detection. They use these sense organs. Magnetoreceptor means detection of Earth's magnetic field to aid in navigation. Certain birds, they have certain tissues, and those tissues magnetic constituents or magnetic field, they are responsible to direct the bird according to Earth's magnetic field. Detailed description is not required. This is a picture from one paper. Certain birds at particular migratory season, they use Earth's magnetic field for their movement, for their movement, for the purpose of nesting, for the movement purpose of food, and purpose of laying eggs. So these are performed by certain birds, migratory birds. They use magnetoreception for their movement. So these are different modalities we have discussed for the purpose of reception. After reception, the point is perception. Perception is what? Perception is the brain's interpretation. When we detect certain stimuli, certain environmental stimuli, we try to interpret what kind of stimuli it is, whether it is good stimuli for us or bad stimuli for us, whether the stimuli is responsible for our feeding purpose or any kind of function. So it allows an animal to recognize the important stimuli for food, mate, trait, already I have explained, and respond appropriately. So this is known as the perception. After receiving the stimuli, after getting the stimuli, what kind of interpretation we have in our mind, that is very important for us. Here example is given. Predatory birds like hawk have acute vision, enabling them to detect small prey from great distance. Nocturnal animals like owls, enhanced hearing to locate prey in dark condition. So these are different kind of perception. After, in dark condition, actually everything is not visible clearly, but owl, what he or what owl does at that time, owl try to interpret the sound, what kind of sound is actually coming, whether this is the condition of trade or whether it is the condition of food, what kind of sound is coming. By using, but by interpreting those sound, they try to attack on animal or any kind of substances. Accordingly, they start their function. Okay, so these are different examples of perceptions. So it is all about processing and perception. Now we'll go for the ecology of senses. Ecology of senses refers to how animals' sensory capabilities are adapted to its ecological niche. What do you mean by ecological niche? It is the ecological boundary where organism is situated. Ecological niche is the condition. Different environment place distinct demands on sensory system, driving the evolution of specialized sensory adaptation. So what is the sensory adaptation? Animal develops sensory system that best match their ecological need. That is the sensory adaptation. In example, we can take the example of deep sea fishes. Deep sea fishes, they have enhanced vision because in deep sea condition there is no light. Light penetration is up to a certain depth in the oceanic environment, but not to the deep sea region. Deep sea region is completely dark. So for survival, organism has sensory adaptation. They develop more sensory adaptation. Here the example express us what? The deep sea fishes, they have more sensory adaptation like vision. They have more developed vision for their survival. Okay, here another is trade-off in sensory system. Trade-off in sensory system means sensory adaptation often involve trade-off as focusing on one modality. That means in certain case, what we found, if think about a blind person, what is trade-off sensory system? The blind person, he or she doesn't have the power of vision. That person is known as blind person. But the blind person, all we know that the blind person can listen a very good manner in comparison to other normal persons. Smell, hearing, all these kind of activities are more developed in case of blind person in comparison to other normal person. If one sense organ is getting failure, then other sense organs ability is increasing. That concept is trade-off in sensory system. So this is another adaptive ability of this kind. If organism could not develop this kind of ability, then organism cannot survive in changing environment. So this is very important. Certain examples are cited here. Nocturnal animals like owls have developed excellent night vision, hearing to detect prey in low light condition. Aquatic animals such as dolphins use echolocation to navigate and hunt in turbid waters where vision is very limited. Insects such as bees have color vision that extend into ultraviolet rays, aiding in flower detection. So these all are different ecological senses. Sensory adaptation actually they develop for their survival. So this all about the neural system and role of neural system in animal behavior. Now come to mechanism of orientation. So what is orientation? Orientation is the animal's position in environment, ensuring they move in direction. Particularly for the movement, you have to maintain one position. Otherwise, you cannot move. Rodless movement is not possible. If you have to move, you have to position yourself. If organism has to move, organism has to position himself. So for any purpose, migration or locomotion for any purpose, might be for food, might be for uh, away movement away from the predator, any kind. But organisms orientation is very important. So what kind of orientations are there? Generally two kinds of orientation, primary and secondary orientation. In primary orientation, ability of an animal to orient itself in relation to specific cause. Few means cause. That means light, gravity, magnetic field. These are the cause. And by this cause, organism orient itself. These use external stimuli to maintain fixed position or direction. And in secondary orientation, it involves what? More complex navigation over long distance. When organismal migration is far away from the point of nesting, where organism start brooding or organism is surviving, and the migratory part is very far away. Animal use multiple causes, multiple factors for its movement. So in primary orientation, it is just for a less distance movement. But secondary orientation is very important. Secondary orientation is the use of multiple causes, multiple cues, like star, sun, earth, magnetic field, everything organism use to move in a particular direction to get its aim, to get its food or any other kind of substances or any other benefits. So these are actually orientations. Now, towards the last part of this mechanism, that is kinesis and taxis. What is kinesis? Is the non-directional movement. That means organism is moving in a non-directional manner. Stimulus is there, environmental stimulus is there, organismal movement is there, but movement is in a non-directional manner. That kind is known as kinesis. So in kinesis, what happens? In kinesis, the organism does not move towards or away from the stimulus, but change its movement rate or pattern. That means if there is a certain stimulus in particular direction, organism is not attracted towards the stimulant. Organism is not far away from the stimulus in opposite direction. But what happens to the organism? Organism start changes direction in any manner. And this kinesis is divided into two types. One is orthokinesis, another is clinokinesis. Orthokinesis, if we'll discuss about orthokinesis, it is a form of kinesis in which speed of movement of individual depends upon the intensity of stimulus. What intensity is there? That means if we are using certain temperature substances, the temperature intensity actually, or low intensity light, which kind of light we are using? We are using UV light, we are using any other kind of light or different temperature grade. Depending upon the temperature grade, that means intensity of temperature, organismal movement is changing. If more intensity, more faster movement, less intensity, less faster movement. But movement is at any direction. Movement is not in particular direction. Movement is at any direction. So this is the kind which we can call it as orthokinesis. Clinokinesis, the rate of turning increases or decreases based on stimulus intensity. So when the movement is induced by stimulation and that involves essentially random alteration of direction. Orthokinesis is not dependent upon the random alteration of direction, but clinokinesis is dependent upon random alteration of direction. Slow and rapid movement in case of orthokinesis is in response to stimulus, whereas rapid or slow turn of organism in response to stimulus. Intensity in orthokinesis, the intensity of stimulus determines the speed of movement. But in clinokinesis, the intensity of stimulus determines the rate of turning. That means how many times that make turn. That defines by clinokinesis. So these are different kinesis pattern. After kinesis, we'll go for taxis. Taxis is the directional movement. Kinesis is the non-directional movement. Taxis is the directional movement. This is the pictorial presentation of taxis. So directed movement towards or away from the stimulus. Any kind of external stimulus we can discuss. If the organism is moving towards or away from the stimulus, that determines the taxis. If towards the stimulus organism is moving, that is known as positive taxis. If away from the stimulus, that is known as negative taxis. So different taxis types are mentioned here: phototaxis, chemotaxis, geotaxis, rheotaxis. Phototaxis express what? When movement in response to light. When moth is moving towards the light source, it is the example of phototaxis because that moth is photoloving in nature. They love the light. That's why they are moving to the source of light. So many insects, you know that. So many insects are photohating, photophobic in nature, but some insects are photoloving in nature. In winter season, we can see that photoloving nature of insects. They are very attracted towards the bulbs and other light source we have. So these are the phototaxic effect or positive response. The chemotaxis means movement in response to chemical stimuli. When bacteria is moving towards nutrients, nutrient is the kind of chemical. If bacteria is very fond of those nutrients, they are moving to the nutrient. They are growing faster in the nutrient medium. So this is the example of chemotaxis. Geotaxis is movement of substances in response to gravity. The roots are moving downward. That means they are moving in response to gravity. Gravity is the force. The gravity is the responsive force, causative effect, causative agent for movement of this root. And rheotaxis is the movement in response to water current. Fish swimming upstream. That is the movement due to water current. That defines the rheotaxis. So these are different taxis and kinesis we have discussed. This is the concluding remark of this mechanism. I think all of you have got certain idea, at least very brief idea about these two chapters we have covered. Any confusion?
No, sir.
So, sir.
No, sir.
Should we
No,
go
sir.
for the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. ସାର୍
Okay.
ସବୁ ଗୁଡାକ ସରିଲା ପରେ ଆପଣ ଟିକେ କାଇଣ୍ଡଲି ସେୟାର କରିଦେବେ ଆମକୁ ଗୋଟେ ନମ୍ବରକୁ, ଆମେ ଟିକେ ପାଇଯିବୁ ଏଗୁଡାକ ସ୍ଲାଇଡ ଗୁଡାକ
Group rate.
ସାର୍ ଆପଣ ତ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ନାହାନ୍ତି ସାର୍, ଆମେ ମେସେଜ କରିବୁ ଆପଣଙ୍କ ନମ୍ବରଟା କହିଲେ ଆପଣ ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ଯେକୌଣସି ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ଦେଇଦେଲେ ସେ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ପକେଇଦେବେ।
Sure, sure, definitely.
Sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ ସାର୍।
Okay, now I'm shifting to next slide. Any confusion, Mr. Durga Prasad? I think Durga Prasad raised his hand. Any confusion? Okay, if there is no confusion, we'll move to next slide. The complex behavior and patterns. So in this part, we'll first discuss about the instinct and innate behavior. What is the meaning of innate? Innate means the
ମୁଭିଂ generation, one generation.
Yes, yes. Okay. The innate behavior is the gene controlling behavior. Innate behavior is the inherited behavior. Okay. So behaviors that are closely controlled by genes with little or no environmental influence. There is no requirement of environmental influence. After formation, after parturition, organisms start automatically this kind of, or so automatically this kind of behavior, that is known as innate behavior. Okay, there is no need of learning, there is no need of teaching this kind of behavior. So these are mainly innate behavior. So these are behaviors that occur naturally in all the members. If we will discuss about the suckling action in babies, that is the very good example of innate behavior. There is no teaching of this suckling action. Automatically, the baby start suckling. That is the kind of behavior which is inherited from the parent. That is the innate pattern of behavior that is not taught or learned from external or environmental stimuli. For survival, organism has to perform this kind of behavior. Not only human being, all other mammals also, they start suckling from mother's breast, the milk, for their survival. Otherwise, they unable to survive. So these behavior that occur naturally. Innate behavior do not have to learn or practice. I have already explained. They are also called instinctive behavior. Instinctive behavior means whatever instincts are present inside us that leads to this kind of behavior. So instinct is the ability of an animal to perform a behavior at first time. Okay, so which kind of behavior we are performing at first time without any learning, without any exposure, that kind is known as instinct. Dog will drool the first time at every time it exposed to food. The suckling action of babies, everything, they are under instinct behavior. So what are the significance? Why there is instinct behavior? Why there is innate behavior? If innate behavior is not there, what happens? Then this is the significance that innate behavior are rigid and predictable. All we know that this kind of behavior will shown by the organism after its parturition. All members of the species perform the behavior in the same way. Innate behaviors usually involve basic life functions such as finding food or caring for offspring. Begging the food in case of cuckoo chick or cuckoo young one is very essential for its survival. The adult may be the crow, but cuckoo start begging like adult chick, sorry, like crow chick, like crow young one. But it is very essential for its survival. So these are different kind of innate behavior organisms are showing for survival. So these are the significance of innate behavior. Without innate behavior, organismal survivability is very difficult. So these are certain examples. Pictorial presentation of innate behavior. The spider spinning a web. There is no need of any teaching. For production of protein that converted to wave, that converted to spinning of a wave. In case of dolphin, the movement. In case of caterpillar, the making of cocoon. In case of birds, building of nest. All these are the innate behavior. They are showing automatically without any learning. So here an explanation is there. All animals have innate behavior. Even human beings the only truly innate behavior in human are reflex behavior. So many reflex actions are there when certain moving object coming to our eye, either in adult form or in young one. Both of them, they start blinking or closing the eye in response to the moving object. That is the innate behavior we are showing. That is the reflex. So reflex is very good example of innate behavior. In case of insect also, the reflex action is very essential. Otherwise, the insect cannot move away from the predator. If predator is there, the reflex action pave the way, the reflex action repel the insects from the point of predator. So that is very natural and it is without any kind of learning. So this is innate behavior in animals. Another important factor is innate releasing mechanism. IRM is the abbreviated form. So what is that innate releasing mechanism? It is neural network in the brain that respond to a specific stimulus and triggers a particular response. So it is very essential. Innate releasing mechanism is the neural network in the brain that respond. Before some time, we have discussed in the mechanism of behavior that after receiving the impulses, our brain is doing what? Start interpreting. That is the result of this innate releasing factor, is the result of this interpreting. Okay. And the innate releasing factor response is a fixed action pattern. Fixed action pattern means particularly we are showing a pattern, a facial expression, and any kind of physical change in our body for that purpose only. If we have certain external stimuli, we react those stimuli, or animal react towards those stimuli by expressing certain pattern, which is called as fixed action pattern. Okay. So this is the basic properties of innate releasing mechanism. This is the pictorial presentation of innate releasing mechanism. Innate releasing mechanism means the central nervous system after interpretation start influencing certain part of the body for release of certain factors. And those factors, if we are discussing about the fear condition, what is innate releasing factor here? If we are in fear, then fear is due to environmental stimuli. After getting certain fear or points of fear, we start secreting adrenaline. Why? Because it is the fight, flight, or flight hormone. But before secreting that adrenaline, our brain must have to interpret those fear situation and its intensity. If more intensity of fearness is there, more secretion of adrenaline is there. So if there is a sign, receptor must be there. If receptor is there, central nervous system interpretation is there. Central nervous system interpretation stimulate the innate releasing mechanism. Then certain motor actions are there and we are conducting certain functions in our body. Okay, just here an example is written. The example, what it describes about the cat-dog relationship. All we know that when there is a fear from dog, that means dog start a facial expression towards the cat. And from that facial expression, the cat understood that there is a fear, there is a predatory attack, or there would be any kind of danger from the dog, and that start running away from the dog. So this is the fixed pattern performed by the dog, and the cat start running away to protect itself from the predatory effect. So this is all about the innate releasing mechanism. So after innate releasing mechanism, some associated factors to this we have to understand, which is known as key stimuli. In innate releasing mechanism, one word is there which is called as key stimuli or sign stimuli. What is that? Sign stimuli is a trigger that sets off an institutional behavior or fixed pattern. When there is a condition, if we'll go for the previous example, what is the key stimuli or sign stimuli? The dog makes certain signs. Signs means certain body condition, changing body condition, certain facial expression, fixed plan, fixed patterns, not plan, fixed pattern. That pattern itself expresses the dog's intensity towards the cat. Certain fishes also, they start changing their body color. When they start developing red belly, that means the male fishes are in mode of attack. So these are different kind of stimuli which are known as sign stimuli. That means by using particular signs, they start expressing their feelings. That is the behavioral pattern of those organisms. And this IRM again divided into two types. One is open IRM, another is closed IRM. The closed IRM is very innate. That means there is no environmental influences for the closed IRM, but open IRM, there is environmental influences, certain environmental influences, because all these are the part of innate behavior, not adaptive behavior. But in open IRM, in certain condition, there is influences of certain external or environmental or learning pattern or for the process of adaptation. So these are different types of IRMs. Then another associated factor is stimulus filtering. Stimulus filtering means it is very common for us also. Stimulus filtering, if one student is studying hard in different obstructive conditions, if obstructive conditions are more, but students' concentration is towards its study, that concept is known as stimulus filtering. So what it defines? Stimulus filtering defines the ability of an organism to focus on specific stimuli while ignoring irrelevant ones. What is the necessity? What is the need of hour? That we have to focus. All other factors, what is present surrounding us, that is not meant for us. That kind of response, that kind of behavior is known as stimulus filtering. So here one example is cited that frogs can filter out the constant noise of wind and water, but remain highly sensitive to sound of prey. That means the frogs consistent attacking effect on the prey. That means no other external factors can deviate the frog from its attack. That's why that kind of action, that kind of stimulus is known as filtering stimulus. Okay, so this is the pictorial very conical pictorial presentation is there which shows the stimulus filtering. Okay. Then another associated factor is supernormal stimuli. Supernormal stimuli means responding more to a large sign or stimulus. Okay. Exaggerated version of natural stimulus that elicit a stronger than usual response. When birds prefer to incubate larger or artificially colored egg. Okay. If we have, there is a mark of lip and lipstick example is there. For developing attractiveness, the example of peacock and peahen. Sexual selection is there. Which kind of peacock is attracted by peahen? The peacock having a large structure of its feather, fur, or wing. The very large peacock can be attracted by peahen. The peacock which dancing pattern is much more better in comparison to other peacock. So that kind of peacock is actually attracted by the peahens for the purpose of sexual mating. So in case of certain birds that try to incubate the large or the larger eggs first, and they provide more priority to the larger egg. So this kind of, that means there is a parental care for all the eggs laid by the birds, but the more affection of the mother bird towards the larger egg or towards the artificially colored egg. That means the bird in its thinking, what it thinks that this is different from other. That means more care is required for this. That kind of behavior, that kind of stimuli is coming under supernatural stimuli. Then here the pattern known as fixed action pattern. Why organism is doing fixed action pattern? It's a sequence of behavior that once triggered by key stimuli run to completion without modification by feedback. Whatever external conditions are provided by environment or any other factor, that is not meant for the organism. Organism is stick to its fixed action pattern. Certain birds, this, if this is the condition, just look at the picture, is the nest. If any bird this kind, they start or they found that certain eggs are rolling out from the nest due to any factor, they start returning the eggs towards the nest in same rolling manner. Not directly, they move the egg to the nest. They start rolling in backward direction. They start rolling the egg in backward direction and they put the egg in same manner to the nest. That kind of pattern is known as fixed action pattern. So the characteristic of fixed action pattern is inflexible, specific, triggered by key stimuli. Inflexible means once initiated, the behavior follows through to completion, regardless of chances in environment. When dog is barking, when dog is starting any kind of facial expression towards the cat or any other prey, any other kind of external stimuli cannot change those facial expression at that time. That is known as the fixed action pattern performed by the organism. It is specific. In case of dog, the fixed action pattern is different. In case of geese bird, fixed action pattern is different. In case of monkey, in case of human, in every level of organism, fixed action patterns are different. And it is always stimulated by key stimuli, or it is always influenced, triggered by key stimuli. That means if there is no stimuli, external stimuli, we cannot find a fixed action pattern. So these are important characteristics of fixed action pattern that you have to mention. Then evolutionary features. First is adaptive significance. If organism showing its fixed action pattern, that means it start expressing its behavior. It start expressing its nature towards the opposite organism or towards the opposition. If one organism start barking, that means it tries to make a fear in other organism for its better effect. That is the evolutionary or adaptive significance. And the next significance of these habits is conserve across generation. So it is the innate capacity. They are passed down. That means the same pattern is passing generation after generation for the same purposes. So these are the evolutionary features of fixed action pattern. This is a neural conduction of fixed action pattern. Here, the pictorial presentation of fixed action pattern is begging behavior of newly hatched chick. When we are talking about cuckoo, the begging behavior is generated by this chick. Otherwise, the chick is unable to survive. That's why the fixed action plan or pattern is very essential for organismal survivability. This is the pictorial presentation, how fixed action pattern is working. And next associated term is there, which is known as code breakers. This is species that exploit the fixed action pattern of other organism. This is a mimic effect, fixed action pattern of other organism for their benefit. Here the example is given, the begging pattern of cuckoo chick towards the crow. Otherwise, organism is a parasitic bird, which the cuckoos are the parasitic bird, they lay egg in the nest of other birds, the crow's nest, okay, for their survival. Otherwise, it is difficult to survive for them. And after hatching, what they did, after hatching, they start begging, not towards the cuckoo, they start begging towards the crow for certain times. So this pattern is termed as code breaker pattern. And at last, we have to discuss about this mimicry and code breaking. Mimicry is the pattern in which organisms evolves to resemble another organism to gain certain advantage. The mimicry is divided into these two kinds. Here the differences are there, Batesian mimicry as well as Mullerian mimicry. When we are talking about Batesian mimicry, the harmless species imitates warning signals. Here the pictorial presentation is there for Batesian mimicry. It's for parasitic benefit that hoverfly, they start doing mimicry. Okay, so this condition is known as Batesian mimicry, and in Mullerian mimicry, two or more harmful species evolve to look similar, enhancing predator learning. So here in Batesian mimicry, the mimic benefits is there, but in Mullerian mimicry, both mimic and predator benefits are there. Examples also mentioned. You can cite those examples. Otherwise, you can cite your own examples for this purpose. So this is all about the mimicry. Code breaking already we have discussed, but here one important term is there, which is called as mimetic releases. Mimetic releases means they are the false signals used by code breakers to exploit another species' innate behavior. That means another organism is using the voice pattern or any other kind of behavior for its survival. for its predator benefit or for any other purposes. So this is all about the code breaking, which often involves mimetic releases. So this is all about the innate behavior, the mimicry, and all. Up to this, clear or any confusion?
No, sir. Sir, please your number, contact number.
Not
Thank you,
audible
sir.
to me.
Sir,
Not audible to
please,
me.
sir, share us your contact number so that we will connect with you. Hello, sir.
Yes, tell me your name first. Otherwise, it is very difficult for me to understand.
Sir, my name is Dushasan Sahu from Dhenkanal. Uh, sir, contact number, your
Mimicry
contact number.
means a pattern
Okay, sir.
followed by one organism. Again, I am repeating, mimicry is the pattern followed by one organism for its benefit. That means if we are facing any kind of danger condition, any kind of unfavorable condition in any circumstances, let's say about the predatory effect. If we are in forest, we got some predatory effect from lion or from any other animal. Okay, we know that these animal have certain fearness towards any other kind of animal or anything inside the forest. So we start creating mimicry of those animals to which our predator, immediate predator, is getting its fearness. Okay, that is the condition of mimicry. Is it clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When we are talking about mimicry, it means organisms they resemble another to gain certain advantage. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so actually what happens in very less time, we have to cover a lot of things. That's why we can go for detailed discussion, realistic discussion about this. But I'm trying my best to explain everything within this stipulated time.
Sir, ଯେତେ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ହେଇଛି ଏଇଟା ସବୁଠୁ ବେଷ୍ଟ ଅଛି ଆଜି ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ।
Actually not audible.
ସାର୍ ଆଜି ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଯେତେ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଅଛି ଏଇଟା ସବୁଠୁ ବେଷ୍ଟ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଅଛି।
ଆଜି ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ
ଯେତେ ସାରା କ୍ଲାସ୍ ହେଇଛି ଆମର ଇଗ୍ନୋର ସବୁଠାରୁ ଏଇଟା ବେଷ୍ଟ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଅଛି।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆଚ୍ଛା, ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ। ଠିକ ଅଛି, ମୁଁ ଟ୍ରାଏ କରୁଛି ଆଉ ଟିକେ ତମକୁ ପହଞ୍ଚେଇବା ପାଇଁ, ମାନେ ଏଇ ଷ୍ଟିପୁଲେଟେଡ ଟାଇମ ଭିତରେ ଟିକେ ଭଲ ନଲେଜ ଦବା ପାଇଁ ଆଉ ଟିକେ ମାନେ ତମକୁ ଇନଫର୍ମେଟିଭ କରିବା ପାଇଁ, ଇନଫର୍ମେସନ ପ୍ରୋଭାଇଡ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ମୁଁ ଟ୍ରାଏ କରୁଛି।
Yes,
ଦେଖିବା।
sir. Yes, sir. Sir, ଆପଣଙ୍କର କଣ୍ଟାକ୍ଟ ନମ୍ବରଟା ଟିକେ ସେୟାର କରନ୍ତୁ। ଆମେ ମେସେଜ କଲେ ଆପଣ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ପର୍ସନାଲି ଆମକୁ ଛାଡ଼ିଦେବେ, ଆମେ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ସେଣ୍ଡ କରିଦେବୁ ଇଏଟା ପିପିଟିଟା। ସେ
ହଁ, ମୋର
ପିପିଟିଟା
ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ସଆପ ନମ୍ବରଟା ଲେଖିଦିଅ 828
Yes, sir.
00
Yes, sir.
39012।
Thank you, sir. ଆମେ ସାର୍ ମେସେଜ କରିବୁ, ମେସେଜ କଲେ ଆପଣ ଦେଇଦେଲେ ଆମେ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ସବୁ
Sure,
ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ
sure.
ସେୟାର କରିଦେବୁ। Yes, sir.
Okay, so a very good night to all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
ଭାଇ ସାର୍ ଯଦି କାହାକୁ ନମ୍ବର ସେୟାର କଲେ ଟିକେ ନମ୍ବର ଟିକେ କହିଦେବ ଭାଇ।
82 800
82
800
82 800
39
39
012
82 800 39012।
हम्म
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଆଜ୍ଞା ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ।